Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today. So today I'm bringing you a review of this new product by Charlotte Tilbury called Tinted Love. And now this comes in 5 shades, and I just bought one because I'm going to tell you now, I wasn't keen on the idea anyway. I was never a Benetint fan. I just didn't like the idea of it, far too watery for me. But nevertheless, I was intrigued and I wanted to get it. Now, I'm a little bit dubious when Charlotte releases something for 48 hours only to be released later on in the year. Having said that, she did release this in that way, and this turned out to be a real success. But I sometimes wonder whether she's doing that to test the water. This seems to be a kind of something that she would release on Valentine's Day, which is probably when it will be re-released. And certainly the packaging is really cute. It reminds me of Valentine's Day, etc., etc. Now, I'm all for the idea of a stain, especially at the moment with us all wearing masks. A great idea, because we want to put something on our lips and take the mask off and still have some lipstick on, don't we, girls? So I can see that. Now, here is the actual packaging. So I actually purchased the shade Love Chain. So I thought I'm going to go for a dark colour because these tints are quite see-through anyway, and if you've got dark skin, there's no point going for one of the lighter shades because it probably won't show up on me. Okay, so I went for this one because I'll tell you why. I have got a lot of Daniel Sandler's, which I'm going to come on to in a minute. Daniel Sandler's watercolour blushes. And I've got a lot of those, but I don't have one that is red. So I thought that's what made me. The darkest one that she did reminded me a lot of one that I use by Daniel Sandler a lot, which I shall also tell you about in a little while, which is not his watercolour blush, but he's got a gel blush as well. And so I thought, let's go for a colour that I don't have in one of his watercolour blushes. Okay, now I'm going to put this on my lips and on my cheeks, and I'm going to tell you, when I first tried this, I was quite pleasantly surprised. And I thought, oh, actually, this is better than I expected it to be. Because to be honest, I'll tell you, I wasn't that enthused, and that's why I only bought one. I just wasn't very keen on the idea to start with. Then I put it on and I thought, hang on a minute, I need to give this a chance. I'm quite impressed. So let me just put this on my lips so that you can see it. So I'm already liking that. Dries down, sinks in very quickly, and you can build it up to quite a bold red. So I'll put some more on in a minute when that's dried down, and I'll put some on my cheeks. Right, so you can build this up. You can have it like a stain like that, or you can build it up. And I thought, what a great everyday idea. And you know there's a but coming, but there are some advantages too. So I'm not completely knocking this, but I'm going to tell you why I personally didn't like it. See, it doesn't look too bad, does it? Very good. Now, I'm going to put some on my cheeks. Now, I'll tell you in a minute why I didn't like it on my cheeks. It may not do the same today, and I know if it doesn't do the same today, I know why. Okay, so I'm just going to do it first and tell you what I'm thinking in a minute. So we'll just get this onto my cheek and then quickly blot it into the cheek like that. And I'm just going to put this on this side for now. Okay, it's not done it today, and I know why. So here's the thing. When I first got this product, I whacked some on my face. I didn't have any makeup on, but I'd done my skincare that day. And I whacked it on my face, and it immediately sunk into my skin before I had a chance to blend it. And I just ended up with streaks just sitting there on my chin, where it basically on my cheek, where it had sunk in really quickly and then it wouldn't budge. I couldn't blend it anymore. So I had lines. Now, okay, I suspected it wasn't going to do that when I demonstrated it today. Why? Because I've just done my live and I've got a full face of makeup on. So I've got a foundation, I've got the flawless filter on, and I've got powder on. So my face is properly prepped, and therefore it's giving me a nice stain. It didn't sink in so quickly that it just ended up being really patchy. So that's great. It's great if that's how you're going to put it on. My issue with that is when I think of a stain like this, an easy little stain that you want to pop on your cheeks, I think of a no makeup look. If I'm going to have foundation on, and if I'm going to have flawless filter on, then I'm going to put a blush on. If I've gone to all the trouble of doing that full prep, i.e. foundation, powder, everything else, I'm not going to reach for a tint. I'm more likely to reach for a blush. The time I want a tint is when I want to go out in the morning and give myself a little bit of a je ne sais quoi. And that's why I love the little palettes that she did. Can't think of the names, just put the name below, Ali. Right, but you know the ones I mean, the ones in the little, let me see if I've got it here, because I tend to carry them around with me a lot. Have I got it here? No, I'm going to go and get what I mean, because then I can show you properly. Okay, it was in that bag after all. These are what I mean, and these are the lip and cheek glows. These are great because you can literally just shove that on your face in the morning. It doesn't matter if you've got foundation underneath. They look perfect. They give you that je ne sais quoi. And you can put that on next to nothing on your face and it's going to look great. This looks great now I've got foundation on. It is gone on evenly. But trust me, when I put it on yesterday, I'm going to show you a photograph, because I took a photograph here of what it looked like when I put it on bare skin. Okay, so you see what it looks like on bare skin. So it's fine if you like a cheek, put your teeth back in, Ali. It's fine if you like a cheek stain and you're going to be putting it over foundation and powder that you've actually made up your face, and you just want a slight hint of a blush, but you don't want to be putting a real blush. To me, that's not what I want a stain for. If I want a stain, it's a something like this that I can pop on my face and do a very simple look with. If I'm going to have to put foundation and powder on, then I'm going to use a blush, a normal blush, not a tint. That's why I'm not that enamoured by it, because it didn't work in the way that I wanted it to work, which is a very simple, no makeup kind of flush. The other thing is, now this looks really great, doesn't it? And it doesn't, it's reasonably good at staying put under a mask. Two things. One, this stain is not only going to stain your lips, it is going to stain your clothes. So be very, very careful, because I have been in that situation with these stains before, where they really do sink in to clothes and they really cause quite a bad stain that you can't get out. Secondly, the very minute that I had a cup of tea or anything, because it's water soluble, it just started to crease up into the creases in my lips, and it looked to me a little bit like I just sucked a lolly, a sweetie lolly, a strawberry sweetie lolly, and I had the remnants on my mouth from eating a strawberry sweet. That's what it looked like. So it looks fine when you first apply it, but if you drink or you lick your lips, it starts to kind of wash off, and I just don't like the remnants. It doesn't wash off in a very even way. So for me, £25 as well, I think that's a lot of money for the limitations. That's my opinion. And if I had £25 and I was deciding between something like that or putting the money towards, I know it's more expensive, but her new Fire Rose quad, hands down, I'd save my money for a quad. And we know that she's bringing new quads out. Now, I also have to say that, you know, I've got two favourite people in the world that I do reviews, and I hate giving a bad review to Charlotte Tilbury, but I also know that my viewers are the most important thing to me, and that what viewers expect is me to give you my honest thoughts. I think if this had been £10 and it came out Valentine's Day, I think fair enough. You know, it's fun. It does, I mean, that now over foundation looks good, and it may just grow on me, but it's just nothing that I would really write home about in terms of it. It doesn't wear very well on the lips, and as I say, if I've got to put it over foundation, then I'll be using a normal blusher. I want to use it like I use this. This by Daniel Sandler. Daniel is my other favourite makeup person in the world. Now, Daniel Sandler's watercolour blushes, he is the king of blush, and that's for a reason. These watercolour blushes are so good, and there's a reason for that. They're very similar in texture. They are watercolour blushes. Now, if you look at the ingredients in Charlotte's Tinted Love, the very first ingredient is water, which is why I think it sunk into my skin straight away before I really had time to work it in the skin. Now, Daniel's, the first two ingredients are silicone and another ingredient which I looked up, which is designed not to sink straight into the skin. Now, you may think, oh, but Charlotte's has got hyaluronic acid in. Yeah, but hyaluronic acid is good for your skin because it sinks in and it makes your skin moisturised. But is that necessarily a good thing in makeup? I'm just going to leave that as a question. Maybe it is, but I just think, yes, in skincare, I get it. In makeup, I don't want something to sink in so quickly that I can't blend it. And do I want a stain to really sink into my skin that much? So hyaluronic acid sounds great. It's got squalene in it, which is a good, again, very good ingredient for the skin. Not sure whether or not we need it in a cheek tint. After all, you're only going to be putting it around that little part of your cheek and on your lips. So I just wonder whether, yes, it's good that it's there. It attracts you to the product, but it doesn't completely convince me. Now, when you look at Daniel Sandler's, now you do have to shake his bottles. The first two ingredients of Daniel Sandler's I looked up, and they are silicones and something that helps you blend it in the skin. What that means is that when you apply this to your skin, and I've done this without makeup, obviously this has worked well with makeup underneath it, okay? So it looks lovely with makeup underneath it. It just didn't look nice without makeup underneath it. But whether you've got makeup on or not got makeup on, Daniel's doesn't do that. It will not streak. It will give you time to blend it beautifully. Now, obviously, this is a different colour, and I've applied a lot, right, because I want you to see it. But do you see how it gives a lovely shine to the skin, and it just looks beautiful? And what you may not realise is that even though Daniel doesn't call this a lip and cheek tint, you can also use this on your lips. Now, I'm going to be honest about Daniel's. I don't favour using these on my lips as much as on my cheek, because they wear off as well, but they don't wear off quite in the same way as this. This wears off and it looks uneven and patchy, whereas the Daniel Sandler one doesn't. Now, I would rather have that than that. Now, that is lovely and it looks nice there, but that would look the same whether I had it over makeup or under makeup. It would still go on that evenly. This is 15 mils, this bottle, and it costs you £16.50. This is 10 mils and costs you £25. This by far is a better product. I'm really sorry, Charlotte, but it is. And I just think, Charlotte, stick to what you're good at. Charlotte is the queen of eyeshadow palettes, of glow, of all sorts of things. But when it comes to a kind of watercolour blush, Daniel really is the king. Right, now I'm going to take this off and I'm going to come back and I'm going to just put this lipstick, this on my lips, so that you can see the difference. I'll take a picture of this close up and then you can see this. Obviously it's a different colour. Okay, so I'm back. I'm going to give this another shake. It's very important to shake these because they are a watercolour. It's important to shake all kinds of makeup, probably this as well if it's settled. But this one is very important to give it a shake. Now, this shade, I forgot to tell you all, is called So Pretty. And this is a shade that will suit any skin tone. It's pink with a slight gold fleck in it, but it will pretty much be a safe bet for any of you. Now, I'm just going to stick this on my lips and so that you can see what this looks like as a stain. So you see, you can use that as well. Now, what I will say, because this has got the silicones and the things that let it glide a little bit more across the skin of the cheek, this doesn't feel like it's sinking in as much as Charlotte's, right? It's not sinking into the lips as quickly. And actually, it still feels quite wet, actually. So overall, I would probably say, if I'm honest, that I prefer it on my cheek than on my lips, right? But I just think that is a better look on the cheek, and it will work when you don't have makeup on. I'm just going to see if this actually does dry down, and I'll let you know. I actually put quite a bit on it, but I wanted you to see what it looks like. Let me just... So it's definitely got more slip to it, which is interesting, which is why I like it. It's got more slip to it, which means that you can work it better on the skin, but it may not be as good on the lips in terms of if you want something that is going to dry down, stain the lip and stay put. So I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to see if this dries down. Okay, I'm back. It does actually dry down. It takes longer, a lot longer than this to dry down on your lips, but it does dry down. I would say this sinks in straight away. This takes a couple of minutes to dry down, and then it is you can touch it and it's not going to come off on your hands. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait to put this video out, and I'm going to take a picture of what this looks like, or at least come back and tell you what this looks like in terms. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea and see whether it does what Charlotte's did, because I just didn't like that. It started to just crease around all the little lines in the lips, and it just looked, as I said, you know what I mean by, I just sucked a lolly and I got some stain on my lips, but it was all patchy, like I'd just eaten something red, rather than it kind of gently fading. It was all patchy. I want to see if this does the same on the lips. But certainly, as far as the cheek goes, this to me is better value. It's got a better, you can blend it far better in all situations, not just when you've primed your skin and put lots of moisturizer on and foundation and powder and everything else. What Daniel does say about the watercolor blush is that you shouldn't put it on over powder. I find that if I've put powder on earlier on in the day and I put it on, it's fine. It's just if you just put on powder, it will kind of move the powder because it's water. And you saw me putting on powder earlier on. But you should put it on before powder if you're doing it at the beginning of the day, just so that it doesn't start moving the powder around. And that would be the same with this actually, because this is very much water based. In fact, this has got more water in it. Water is the first ingredient in this one. It's not in this. So, you know, be careful if you've just applied powder and you put this one on, because it will move the powder and you could end up with a patchy mess. But it's worked because the powder's sunk in. It's been on for a couple of hours. So I hope this has been helpful. I think if you are going to use a stain with a full face of makeup on, and that's why you want the stain, then absolutely. And to be honest, Daniel doesn't do this colour. He doesn't do red, as far as I'm concerned. I can't think of a red that he does. He does pinks, he does peaches, he does a lot of other colours, but I can't think of him doing a bright red. I don't think he does. And I think I'm just looking, because sometimes with red you end up getting carmine in, but I think his makeup says that some things have carmine in them as well. But anyway, so, you know, if you want a red, then this is a good product. It's an okay product. But if you want it to put on a bare face in the morning, to just quickly give you something on your cheeks, it didn't work for me at all, and it just ended up looking like I'd got a leaking ballpoint pen and I'd just touched my face. It was that patchy, and it's expensive. I think £25 for 10 mils for that product is too much, and I would prefer Daniel Sandler's. So anyway, I'll be back very shortly. I'm going to see how this wears after my cup of tea, and I'll be right back to finish off this video. Okay, I'm back. I've had my cup of tea, and I'm actually very pleasantly surprised, because I did think that this was going to fade away. I've been licking my lips and it's still fine. And I'm glad that I'm surprised, because I did think it was going to fade a lot more than that. And it's not because I wanted it not to fade because I'm biased, but because when I make a point that I prefer something, I hate it when I then prove myself wrong. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, this has lasted really well as a stain, and it's not coming off. I've licked my lips. It's not coming off. And it's made me want to use it a bit more. Do bear in mind with any stain that if you start putting a gloss over the top of it, you're going to make it more emollient, then it is more likely to come off, right? So that would be the same with Charlotte's product, with the Benetint, any other tint. As soon as you add emollients over the top of it, it's like putting, you know, if you want to remove this, you'd put an oil on it to remove it. So once you put anything with a bit of emollients in it, that's going to help it to kind of rub off. But if you keep it like this, it should last quite a long time. Now, in order to be thorough, I'm going to come back because I do want another cup of tea anyway. And I'm going to now put on Charlotte's one and have a cup of tea. And then we'll do a comparison shot. And then you've seen everything. You've had all the evidence put in front of you. And I've done a thorough job of what I'm trying to say. So, and I will do exactly the same. I'll lick my lips a bit. I'll have my cup of tea. And I'll be as fair as I can about both products. And then let's see what the outcome is. Right, so just so that you can see me putting it on, here we go. And I'm going to try and put about the same amount on as I did with Daniel's. Okay, I'll let that dry down and then I'll have my next cup of tea and be right back. Oh, it's a hard life being a beauty blogger, isn't it? Having to have 2 cups of tea just to test a lipstick. Okay, so this actually hasn't stood up too badly. It's quite good and it's standing up. This may just grow on me. It may do. I have to say, you'll see the photos after this. I'm going to put the Daniel's one next to the Charlotte one. This one has started to wear off a bit more than the Daniel one, which actually has surprised me because I thought Daniel's would wear off quicker with it having the slip in it. So I'm not going to totally discount it. And in fairness, this does look very nice over makeup. Now, the reason, just before I finish off, the reason that this works over makeup is because in your foundation and your powder, you've got the emollients. So you've got the stuff that kind of adds a layer of emollients to stop it sinking into the skin. Whereas in Daniel's product, he's kind of got it in the product. So this means that you can apply this to bare skin, and the other one, if you do, it kind of sinks in really quickly, unless you've just literally just applied moisturizer. So I just think these are more workable and I just love them. You know, what's not to love about Daniel's watercolor blushes? If you haven't tried them yet, what planet are you on? I'm not going to totally knock this. I think some people will love it. It's easy to put on your lips. Just be careful about application on your cheeks because it is very, very watery. A lot more watery than Daniel's and a lot less slip. If you like them, you like them. I personally am glad I only bought one. That's my honest opinion. But if I do, if this grows on me and I start using it a lot more, I will let you know. As you know, when I bought the Lip and Cheek Glow, the first time I used this one with the shade Colour of Dreams, I said, doesn't really show up much on me. But actually, this is the one that I've used more than the other one. Now, before I go, I did promise you that I would show you the other Daniel Sandler product, because there is another option, and I think that this again works as a nice stain and a nice cheek tint. So I'm just going to get you that before I finish off. Okay, I can't show you the Daniel Sandler product because I've lost it. And I'll tell you what, I'm always losing Daniel Sandler's watercolour creme blush, as well as his lipstick, and also Charlotte's Unisex Healthy Glow. Why? Because I use them so much that they end up, I'll find them in dressing gown pockets and handbags and bags that are in the car, in the side of the car. Those are the products I'm always losing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to link you the video that I did underneath. Now the Daniel one that I wanted to show you, just full what's called transparency, he did actually send me the one that I love and that I use the most, but I bought the first two before he sent me the third, and he sent it me as a little thank you for doing his review. So just so that you know that, but it is the one that I use the most, which is why I've lost it. And I'm going to panic now until I find it. Anyway, so that is my review of Charlotte's, but I would say go and get a watercolour blush. I haven't lost those. You will see they're all here in a bag. I have them all together in this little bag that I have with me. It's just that the creme one is one that I carry around more often. I've got loads and loads of colours of watercolour blushes, so if you want to see more, give me a comment in the comments below. But that today is my review of Charlotte Tilbury's Tinted Love Lip and Cheek Glow. Hope you've enjoyed it. Not a total fail, but I hope I've given you enough information to decide whether or not it's for you. See you all soon. Take care. Bye bye. Mwah.